welcome to another episode of Practical Marketing Tips for Small Law Firms, where we interview industry experts about proven, low-cost, used today attorney marketing strategies. I'm your host, Cara Pryor, president of James Publishing, co-founder of our content-based Marketing Amplifier program. I really spend most of my time strategizing with lawyers on how to improve their marketing ROI, how to improve their return on that marketing investment. Okay, like we always do, let's get right down to business. We have a great guest today. I'm really excited to welcome Nalini Prasad of BluShark Digital. Welcome, Nalini.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you here. Thank you. So a little bit about Nalini before we dive in. She is the Chief Strategy Officer at BluShark Digital. She's worked alongside BluShark founder Seth Price to create a digital marketing agency focused on helping small law firms build their business and stand out online. Nalini spoke at 30 legal conferences last year, so she's a real pro, and we are definitely excited to have her here today. So today we're really going to answer 5 super common but critical SEO questions, search engine optimization questions, that I think we both hear from attorneys all the time. And we'll kind of provide some specific ways to really kind of improve those results. So without further ado, Nalini, let's start with kind of a basic. What is the difference between organic SEO and local SEO?
Yes, this is a huge question that I get all the time, or, this is a distinction that people don't realize is there. So organic SEO focuses on ranking you in the top 10 on page 1 of Google, whereas local SEO is focusing on ranking you in that local 3-pack is what we call it. But it's basically that little map with 3 results at the top of page 1 that has more to do with your Google My Business profile and where people will actually leave you reviews and talk about your brand. So essentially that's the difference of where they appear, and then what you do in order to get yourself into those 2 different spots on page 1 vary across the different fundamentals.
Okay, good. I like how simple you kept that response, because sometimes it can get a bit convoluted and confusing. So I like that, it's that distinction, the local 3-pack and the organic sort of rankings, and that's the clear distinction there. So to your point, so how can I get my website to appear on the first page of Google? Everyone in the attorney marketing world hears this, right? It's kind of like the gold standard, but and this is of course referring to organic SEO, right? So tell us a little bit about, how folks can really improve their ranking and hopefully, maybe show up on that kind of coveted first page.
Yeah, so organic, where we're focusing on just the top 10 on page 1, the thing I like to stress is that there's no secret sauce. There's absolutely no secret sauce, right? There are 4 fundamentals that Google says, I need you to do work across these 4 categories and do it just a little bit better than your competitors in your market, so that I can understand you're the smartest person in the room and you're showing me in a way that I can numerically understand it as the Google bot, right? And so those 4 fundamentals are simply technical, content, link building, and local SEO. Plays a little bit of a part as well in that organic. It's making sure that you're regularly producing content, fresh content, but you're not going to just put 500 pages of content up in January, do nothing till November, right? The idea is not how many pages you're necessarily putting up, but that you're doing it regularly and consistently so that Google can have a rapport with you and understand that you're dependable, right? But then it's not just about having that content. You need to make sure that that content is easily understandable by the bot. How many pages of this content are about this practice area or this topic or this service that I provide, right? Being able to actually help Google understand what's on your site so that they can compare it to your competitors out there. And then that third fundamental outside of local is link building. And so it's, now I've got this perfect structure. Google understands what's on my site. I'm regularly putting up content, but what if, me and my competitor both have a good answer for a Google searcher, and Google has to say, well, who am I going to rank number 4 or number 5 or number 9 or number 10, right? Like almost that cusp of, are you going to go to page 2? And it comes to a tiebreaker of link building, which very simply means endorsements online for all of the authority you have offline. So if you speak at a conference, or if you've served on the board of an organization, or you've donated money to a cause, making sure that those organizations are letting Google know that you're associated with them by linking from their site to yours. And it comes down to a numbers count. Who's out there endorsing you more, you'll end up being the person that wins that tiebreaker. So all of these elements come together to help you kind of rank in that top 10 on page 1.
So Nalini, when you talk about content, adding content to a law firm site, how often do you suggest that fresh content is added?
That is a great question. And I think it really depends on your market and how competitive it is. If you are 500 pages behind your competitor to get you to stand out, right, and it's this rat race to make sure you're doing just a little bit more in that category, then you want to make sure that you're creating a plan that is feasible to you. Do not bite off more than you can chew. That's the most important thing, because if you set a goal to do 20 pages of content every month and you do that for the first 4 months, but then you stop, that is a huge sign to Google that you're not dependable, right? It does a disservice to you versus saying, oh, I know I can do 10 pages a month. I know I can handle that. And you do that for maybe 10 months straight. That's going to make a bigger difference. So it's really, you compare it to how far behind are you in your market? If you're in a less competitive market, maybe you only need a few pages a month. If you're in a very competitive market, you're looking at more like 15 pages of new content every month to try to catch up to them in a reasonable amount of time, right? But the bottom line, do what you know you can consistently do.
Good advice. And something I also hear too is how do you know what to write about, right? So there's kind of this balance of sort of appeasing the bots and kind of writing for the search engines, and then writing for the visitor, right? And adding that value and really, making it something that will really kind of help you get some traction on your website. So how do you kind of recommend, topic brainstorming, coming up with topics?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear your opinion too, because I know that this is the biggest battle in SEO is, do you do more blogs? Do you do more practice area pages? Where do you even put those topics, right? First and foremost, I think that the topics that are going to be most important are topics that actually give information and helpful guidance to the clients that you want, right? So if you are a personal injury lawyer, making sure you're not just putting up one car accident page, but let's talk about how it's different if you get in a rear end collision, or if someone was texting when they hit you, or how to read a crash report, right? These more very specific topics that can almost be blog topics, but we say it's better to put those very supplemental supporting pages as a practice area page under your car accident page. So Google sees this depth of understanding that you have. A lot of people will say, hey, we should put that in our blog section. It's my opinion that when Google sees blog and it sees that tag, it understands that this is your opinion on maybe a trending topic. But when it is in your practice area section, it becomes real factual guidance that you can give as a licensed professional, right? So it's something that they feel comfortable giving the searcher that's asking a question. So that's kind of my opinion, but do you have thoughts on, the best type of topics, or even whether it should go in your blog or your practice area section on your site?
Yeah, I agree. And you know what, Nalini, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head as far as sometimes when attorneys think about improving their ranking, they're just so obsessed and, sort of concerned about how can I get on that first page. But you know what? In the end, you need to also be providing value, authoritative content, right? That will help you actually convert, some of these prospects into clients, hopefully a lot of these prospects into clients. And something that we talk about here a lot is you're driving traffic to your site, right? You're working, you're investing, either someone's helping you do this, or you have someone in-house who is solely focused on driving traffic to your site. But then once the visitors get there, what is the experience like, right? So is there an option just to book a free consult, right? Is there a free case evaluation? Is that the only offer, right? What about those visitors who come that aren't quite ready to do that, aren't quite ready to call your office? If there's no other option, those folks will leave without a trace. You'll never even know that they were there interested in learning more. So, the more your site can provide that kind of valuable content, that information that answers many of their common questions, that gives them the guidance, establishes you as the expert, that is super, super critical. And then on top of the blog pages and certainly the articles, why not add some educational high value content as a lead magnet, right? An exit intent pop-up, for instance. So as a visitor goes to leave your site, offer them a free booklet, a free ebook, in exchange for their contact information, right? Then they get something super valuable. Again, it's branded with your contact information, of course. You're the one kind of conveying your caring, conveying that you're ready to help. And then you can enter those folks into an ongoing drip nurturing series and keep in touch with them. Continue to kind of, build on that funnel until they are ready to hire an attorney. And of course, you're the one, who's top of mind at that point. So I think, yeah.
I think that's a great point, especially with, the other aspect of content is, making it easy to understand. So, charts and infographics and things like that, but they stay on your site. Whereas the item that I love with Amplified is that you guys are providing something that they do take home, right? And you're so right about that sales cycle when it comes to lawyers specifically. If I am looking into a divorce, I'm probably 6 months out. I'm looking for research and information. If I am looking into a will and a trust, I'm still just gathering information. A lot of the practice areas are very research-based. And so providing that information for them to take home, and then the double benefit of you being able to keep them in your cycle in a drip campaign is incredible. Absolutely.
Smart, Nalini. Yeah, thank you. So let's move on a little bit to local SEO. So I think some folks see this as, possibly the lower hanging fruit. So what can attorneys do to improve their local SEO in that local 3-pack that you discussed?
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly like you said, where folks will think it's more low-hanging fruit, I think that it is definitely the aspect of SEO where you have a lot more control to do it yourself and to provide value. So with local SEO, as I mentioned, it's kind of driven by that Google My Business profile, which is something you as the business owner create. You have the ability to put up photos and talk about yourself in these weekly posts, or just give information on your products and services. You have everything at your fingertips, whether it's through the app, which Google's trying to make much more user-friendly, or through, the back end on the website if you sign into it. But there's lots of new features that come out all the time that Google is giving you the opportunity to talk about yourself, to put your brand out there, but more importantly, to offer your consumers the ability to engage with you so that they can use that as data points. And they can say, oh, last week, 40 people standing in this city engaged with your Google My Business post about this topic. Now I've got someone standing in that same city asking for help in that topic. You look like a pretty good answer for me to put in that 3-pack because I know people actually go to you for that help, right? So making sure that when you're doing your Google My Business posts that you're, putting a variety of things you handle. If you are a divorce lawyer, don't just always talk about divorce, but maybe there's child custody and there's child support and all these other aspects you can be talking about. Same with PI and criminal, everything. Make sure there's variety, and make sure that you're often engaging with your Google My Business profile. And then that last piece, and the bigger piece that I'm sure you have questions about too, would be just reviews. I get tons of questions on how do I get more reviews? Do they matter? How much do they matter? And I will tell you from a conversion perspective, once you're in that 3-pack, that's the first thing people are looking at, right? They have those 3 on their cell phone. And if they can see that you have a ton of reviews and that there is a good average rating, then you look like somebody I should call right away, right? I'm not necessarily going to dive deep, but it's important to make sure that you're using your existing database to get those reviews and get those review numbers up, at least to be competitive in your market.
Nalini, sometimes I hear attorneys are apprehensive. They're nervous about asking for online reviews. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and it's weird to always ask for something in return, but remember that you're providing a service and these people are very happy with you, especially it depends on what your practice area is. If you're a criminal lawyer, I've heard that it is a struggle to get folks to want to leave their name talking about, oh, I've been arrested, right? Or I had a DUI. And so there are some tricks and tips to help work around that, where they can say you've helped them with a case and they don't have to say what it was, right? But from the perspective of asking, I think the best time to do it is when you are giving them something. So, hey, here's your settlement check. You are God's gift to earth to them on that day, right? And Seth always has this joke that he says is, the day you have the settlement check is the day they love you the most. That's when you want to say, hey, would you mind just taking a moment? I'm going to shoot you a text right there in your office to my Google My Business profile. Would you mind just leaving a review on, what did I help you with and would you enjoy working with me on, right? Or what was your favorite experience with me? Give them some leading questions so that they're not sitting there confused about what to write and think, oh, well, I could just give 4 stars, right? Because the words are going to matter to Google. They're reading what those reviews say. And the joke that Seth does is he says, that day that you hand the settlement check, you're the best person in their life. 2 weeks later, well, they were okay. I'm glad I hired them. And 4 weeks later, man, I could have done this myself. Who needs a lawyer? So it's time is of the essence. And I think feel more confident in asking for it, especially when you're giving them that happiness that, hey, here's the child custody battle I just helped you win, right? Or here's the settlement that's going to help you plan for your future. So I think just being a little bit more confident that you are providing a service. And, if they say no, they say no. What's the worst case, right?
Yeah. And I love the text message suggestion. Make it as easy as you possibly can for, for your past clients to leave you a review. And you have to have a system, right? Or it won't get done. So if it's, I love that
Yep.
suggestion of, the day that they get the settlement check, whenever, it makes most sense for, for your past clients, but have that system. It has to be coordinated. If it's haphazard or, I don't know if we've sent a review, automate it, create an automated system that you don't have to worry about it. And it's just, kind of another element that goes out and, you really will see, I mean, it's amazing how relevant and how important Google reviews really, really are. And I mean, we all know it, right? We go to the restaurant or get takeout sometimes, from that restaurant who has a lot of reviews and who has, the most high quality reviews. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think, sometimes there is some hesitation about, well, what if I get a bunch of negative reviews? Well, in the end, it will balance itself out, right? If you're providing a good service, you're treating your clients right. You can't you can't please everyone, right? And there are, systems where you can actually gauge sentiment, I think, before actually asking for that review. So, would you recommend us? Yes or no? For those thumbs down, you just maybe send them to a private feedback area, right? And those positive responses, you can send them right to your Google review. So,
and a quick thing on the negatives too. I know people are very concerned about negatives, but sometimes depending on what kind of negative review it is, could be your best friend. So if I would say that when I go and I look at restaurants or things like that, where I'm looking at the reviews, I actually go to the negatives first before. If I see that you have a high number of 5 stars already, then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read all of those. I know you're great, but I'm going to go to the negative and I'm going to see what is the worst thing someone has to say about you. And so if you have just a couple negative reviews and they're about your furniture was not comfortable enough in your waiting room, right? Or something so small that it wasn't really a reflection of what you did for them. I love those. Leave those up. Let it be that your worst thing that someone can say about you is that your furniture is uncomfortable, right? So depending on, what kind of negative review gets there, sometimes it can help to not be perfect.
Yeah, good point. And it adds to that. It's more genuine, right? So it's that real picture. Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on. So another question we get all the time, especially I'm sure Nalini gets all the time. When trying to improve my Google ranking, is there a difference between an established firm versus one that is essentially just starting out?
Yes. Okay. So I do get this question a lot, and it's a lot when I'm talking about strategy too. What is your strategy, which is going to be very different from the next person. Every firm is different. Every brand you're trying to get out is different. First and foremost, it is going to matter about what market you're in. And I know people might be sick of hearing that, but it is the truth, right? Because it is a race, and every market, every city in the United States has a different amount of law firms that are there and a different level of law firms that are spending on marketing, right? So if you are in a non-competitive market, then naturally it will take less juice for you to rank yourself, to establish yourself, right? But in any market, I will tell you the way to establish yourself is going to be taking your offline authority and bringing that online. So all of the things that you've done through your career to establish yourself and make yourself a real authority, things that your competitors can't easily reverse engineer and do the same thing, because listen, they're not speaking at conferences, or they're not actually the president of that board of organizations, right? Those items are always going to be worth more. So if you are established and you've been around for a long time, those things are naturally going to help you. That is not to say that if you are just graduating law school and you're just hanging your shingle, that there is no chance for you. It just means that you're going to need to put in the work, just like all of these lawyers ahead of you that have done all of the work to establish themselves, and slow and steady wins the race, right? So you'll just need to be a little bit more hardworking at putting resources onto your website and into yourself. But it does not mean that there's no hope for you to catch up, right?
Good. Yeah. Wise words. Good. Okay. So wrapping up. So tell us about an emerging or maybe a trending topic our listeners should know about in the law firm SEO or law firm marketing world.
Yeah, the biggest thing that has got all of the lawyers buzzing right now are those local service ads. I'm not sure if you've seen those, but they are now at the top of the search result page. They're this page structure, brand new for lawyers to show. And it is even above the regular paid ads, right? There are these 3 little blocks that have a photo of a lawyer, and they have very limited information for people to click through to determine whether they want to continue with you or call you, right? So those items are very important, and those items are pulled from your Google My Business. It has a local aspect, and it is your photo, it is your number of reviews, your average rating. So those things pop out in yellow very quickly. And then right below that, it has the years you've been established. So if you are filling out an application to be put on this local service ads, I would say maybe not necessarily using the date your firm was established, but the date you were barred, right? Because everyone's got these high numbers of established, and it's really how long have you been established and able to help serve the community, right? So that's your barred date. Right now, the way that they're working is that you can apply. It's an artist application process where you have to submit your legal malpractice insurance. You need to put in some background checks on all your employees, all this stuff. But once you're approved, you're in there. Because it is new, I would tell everyone to go do it, because there are less lawyers to pull from, and having that visibility gets you calls. A lot of our lawyers have been they've been reaping the benefit of being the first folks on there doing it. But the coolest thing is that it is charging you per lead. So when someone calls you is when you actually pay. You're not paying if they see you and they click in, look at your profile, and click to your site. All of those conversions are actually just free visibility right now. So it's something I would look into, and just keep on top of your Google My Business. Make sure that you're always engaging with it. That's kind of where all the new things are emerging.
That's great advice. And it sounds like in this case, being an early adopter, once again, is a positive thing. So yeah, that's good. Okay, so Nalini, wrapping up, let people know how they can contact you, where they can learn more. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so BluShark Digital, we are spun out of a law firm ourselves. Seth Price is Seth at BluShark Digital. If you want to talk directly to him about growing your business, he's also doing the same thing with law firms, his own law firm. And then I'm just Nalini, Nalini at BluSharkDigital.com. That blue does not have an E on it. It is a phantom E in our logo, but it's just BluSharkDigital.com. And I'm happy to answer questions that you have just about your business, about local, or if you're interested in talking more strategic about your digital marketing strategies.
Great, Nalini. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, no, great. And I really loved hearing your opinions on everything too, and more about what you guys do. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. So join us for our next episode of Practical Marketing Tips for Small Law Firms. We'll have that available very soon, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks again, Nalini. Have a good
Thanks. Bye.